Hey folks, Stronghold Crafter Cav here. Welcome to my channel. And in this video I'm going to show you another dungeon trap tutorial, which is a saw blade floor trap. So, if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. I have a lot more things coming to the channel and I wouldn't want you to miss out. And if you are a subscriber, thank you! Really appreciate it. By the way, Jack says hi. For more information on my craft, visit my website, which is strongholdcrafter.com. And oh yes, if you like this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. And I welcome comments. So, all that good stuff. Alright, and I'll see you in a bit. Hey folks, welcome back to another dungeon trap tutorial. Okay, so we're going to deal with saw blades. Yes. Alright. Well, first we're going to start out with a tile, which is explained on Dungeon Tile Video 3 and Dungeon Tile Video 5 on how to get it to this point. You just need a 4x4 tile. And what we're going to do is use some good old-fashioned plastic we normally just throw out as garbage, recyclable stuff. This is a thin plastic which you can get from a container that contained grapes or blueberries or perhaps muffins or something from the grocery store. So, in order to achieve the saw blades, what we're going to do is first we're going to draw some out. Now, of course, you want to make sure this is clean and make sure it's flat as can be. And just pick a particular size for your blades, using a figure for scale here. And just to revamp what we're doing here, you can see the saw blade is not huge, but at the same time it's something that he could go around, or he can jump over, or get horribly nicked by. So, keeping that in mind, I didn't have an exact measurement, so I just used this little thing you're not supposed to eat. It's that moisture absorbing stuff that they put in certain kinds of packages and all that. So the Sharpie. I botched that one up. Oh well. But you get the point, really. That's how it's done. So even so, we could still save that a little bit. Now, what I normally do is I separate them out, make it easier, and then with a nice pair of sturdy scissors, just cut it out. Okay. Now that part we can get rid of as trash. So, since we're only going to be dealing with, let's say, about half the blade protruding from the unsuspecting surface, what you can do, you can just before or after you cut them out, but just draw a line down the middle. And just think about it. Each blade that you cut, you can get 2 out of each. So you have like a whole assortment of them. Now, what you can do then is decide where you want to put them. Placement's really up to what you're thinking about doing. You can have them all in the same row, or you can have them like mixed around. So I will come up with something and get back with you. Alright, these are going to be a little hard to see, but because they're clear, but you can see the blue a little bit with how they're arranged here. I wanted to do a different pattern than what I showed earlier, and the thing to keep in mind is have enough space for at least some players to stand on certain parts of the tile, so it's not totally obscured with blades. And in case it's an encounter where they actually have to fight someone else on the same tile, a crossway or something, or whatever. So once you've come up with a pattern and you like, now we can glue them in place. So for doing that, I'm going to use some low temperature hot glue, and be very careful. You can still burn yourself with even with a low temp hot glue gun. So what you're going to do is just going to do one and then do the rest off camera. It might be easier to just do that. You want to put just enough glue on there to hold it, but not so much that it splurts out. But if it splurts out, we can just cover it up anyway. So very carefully, and let's see if we can keep this in camera. And not to worry, it's going to dry clear anyway. Dry. It's going to cool clear. Make sure it's in there. And you want to, sorry if I'm getting out of the camera, you want to hold it in place long enough that it'll set. And you also want to make sure that it is pretty much perpendicular to the tile itself. I mean, you could have it at like a weird angle, but it just won't mechanically look right. If you can imagine them springing up out of the floor. Okay, so that one's done, and I'm going to continue on the rest of them and get back with you. Okay, now the all the blades are set in place. You can see they pretty much, well, you can barely see them even though they're reflecting a little bit here. Once the glue is cooled, you can then think about taking care of the wisps that, as DMG would call it, they look like cobwebby, stringy things, but anyway, you can either clean them off or just leave them as is. It doesn't really matter. Now, if you're wondering why didn't I take the time to cut teeth into the blades, well, in actuality, I was thinking that these blades are spinning already, so when you look at a spinning saw blade, you don't see teeth. And if I did try to do the saw blade teeth on these, it would be so small that it'd be such a chore to even do, and it's really not necessary. Now, we can go on to the painting part. There's one problem with this type of material. It's cheap, however, it doesn't stick well to paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take some glue, namely Mod Podge, and I'm going to paint a thin coat on the surface of the blades. What's that going to do? It's going to create a texture on the surface that the paint will be able to stick to. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. And I do one side first, and then I turn around and do the other side. And you can also try to put in a rounded like pattern. See? You can see them now. Once they dry, they'll be clear and it won't matter anyway. So I'm going to finish this up and get back with you. Alright, this is how it looks when it's fully covered on both sides. Now if you're not sure how to keep track as to what you need to cover, just rotate it in one direction or the other, clockwise or counterclockwise, and you'll find where you don't have any more brush strokes, which means you got to go back and add some more. You don't have to worry about putting it on the very top. It won't matter because it's rougher on the edge because you cut that, so the paint will stick to it no problem at all. So I'm going to let this dry and get back with you, and we'll go on to the next step. Alright, the Mod Podge is totally dry now, and as you can see here, it has a slight obscured texture to it. They're not shiny like they were before, which is great because now the paint will stick to it. So I'm going to use a simple, this turns out to be a Bella brand type of flat black, and we're just going to base coat these. And I'm using a very small brush. Okay, you don't need a whole lot here. Okay. Now, once this dries and we put the next color of paint over there, you won't even be able to see through anything, or there won't be any other problems, and it'll look more like it's metal instead of plastic. So, the thing to keep in mind is paint both sides, and a lot of time for dry, and then we will go on to the next step. Alright, all the black paint is dry. You can see here it has like a spinning texture on it, if you will, just because of the way the strokes were done with the brush. And now it's time to add its next color, which I'm going to use a folk art wrought iron type of paint, which it looks like a gray metallic, but it's not very shiny, but it has a slight luster to it anyway. And of course we don't want something nice silvery and shiny down in a dungeon anyway. We're thinking of something that's grimy or whatever. So with get some paint on the brush with a small brush like before, and we're just going to cover the thing. Even if you don't get it evenly covered, it's okay. We want to get away from that black just a little bit. So once that dries, it'll definitely stand out a little bit more, and it'll actually dry a little bit darker than it is here. So I will continue doing that and get back with you. Alright, now that the paint is dry, I don't know if you can tell with the lighting here, but there's a slight difference with the, if this would even focus, with the contrast of the black there. And anyway, we're going to move on. This is where it gets really fun. We're going to do the detailing, the final detailing that is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some blood effects on here. It's very simple. I'm going to use some folk art Naphthol Crimson. Not even sure if I even pronounced that right, but oh well. Okay. It is a very rich color, and you don't need much. With the same kind of a brush. Preferably clean and dry, of course. And I'm just going to paint this before you, and what I'm going to do, oh, I forgot. On the very top, it's not very crucial that you get the wrought iron on there because it's going to be covered up anyway. So, but what's really important is that you cover what you want to cover with the blood effects, including around the where the hot glue is and stuff, to give it that gory look. Well, you'll see what I mean. Alright, initially you don't need a whole lot to put on there, but we're not trying to evenly cover the blades on the top, but at least get the idea that these things are spinning, they've got traces of blood here and there, and just something to keep in mind. Alright, if you think there's like too much paint, you can always just spread it out a little bit. And these are just, you know, running effects that I'm doing here. Imagining that the blades are turning and whatever blood got on them is being circulated through, and it's a mess, obviously. Now, I'm just going to finish up a little bit more here. Alright, we're done with that. As you can see, it's going to dry darker, so don't be too concerned about how it looks now. And now we're going to continue with a sponge. So that will basically take care of splatter effects. So load up the sponge, and I don't want to dab off a little bit too much, otherwise this is just going to go crazy. And okay, and just imagine how the stuff would splatter. And for you forensic people out there, please don't judge me too harshly. I mean, there's always the chance that some of this blood got trailed and splattered and traveled a little bit before it fell. Usually envision that the splatter effects is coming off of the edge of the blade, per se. However, you can do whatever you want as far as putting some blood effects on here. Alright, I think this tile is pretty much done. Yeah. So, thanks for watching. Bye.